Carolyn, I'm probably going to ruin her last name, but I think it's Gervais, and we'll find out how you pronounce it. But I just chatted with her today, and she wrote a book called I Dreamed I Was Human. And next week I'm going to interview her, and her and I were chatting about this, and we both have very similar stories. It was really fun to talk with her and just read her book, because so much of what's driven me to write the book I'm writing and what's driven her to write the book she's written is this energy of life experience that we went through, and being empathic and feeling we were weird, and we're just the weird misfit kid, and we felt everything, and we really struggled following society. We really struggled following and honoring adults that had no alignment. Like, that for me is really, really difficult for me to follow anyone if they don't seem like if I can't feel that they're in alignment and that they truly know what they're talking about, I cannot just blindly follow them. And I never could, even as a child. And her and I were talking about, the more that these children are shamed and punished, the more that this energy happens, it's really creating more and more disruption, and it's never going to help them. In essence, the clients that I see now are the children that were shamed in the past generation. Like, the good thing would be when one day I don't need to help anyone on this planet, because there's no more woundedness and there's no more shame. But that's what I'm helping with every single time I help a client, is deeper down emotional shame and wounds that have happened from external projection. Because we come in often pretty confident and connected to source when we're little children, and we feel a zest for life. We feel, when you look at most children, they're just running around, they're connected. And not all children. There's some children that come in with a heavy pain body right from birth. But most children do have this very, vivacious connection to spirit. They're just connected. They see angels. They talk about the spirits they see. We need to listen to them and honor that, because they're connected. And because we shut that down in ourselves, what we do is we start to shut that down in our children. We start to shame them. We start to control and judge them and tell them how it is, and tell them they need to grow up and be just like us, be miserable and be out of alignment just like us. And we say it's because we love them. We say that we're doing all this to help you because I love you, as we're controlling them, as we're lashing out at them, as we're shaming them. And so it's really important that we stop that shaming habit. Carolyn, in her book, she wrote about our concept of God, and I've had the same exact discussion with people with that. Many have this concept of God, that they say that we were created in God's image. I've always observed that I feel humans created God in their image, and depending on what that image is will determine the kind of God you relate to. So you could relate to a God that's punishing and vengeful. If that's the God you believe in, then you have every right. You feel justified. You feel in alignment to go out and judge and lash out and punish people if they don't do it your way, because that is the concept of God you believe in. If you feel that God is an unconditionally loving God, and that source loves you and supports you and wants good for you and will always forgive if you're out of alignment and help nudge you back in, you're going to have an experience, and you're going to treat others in the way that, I know that you made a mistake. I forgive you. I thank you for saying you're sorry. I'm glad you're back in the land of alignment. Let's go and have some fun. And so you get over it, you shake it off. Most children, when they come in, are in that energy. They forgive pretty quickly. 1 minute they're angry and they're throwing sand at their friend because they didn't give them their toy. And a few minutes later, they're playing, laughing, giggling, running through the playground. Adults have lost that connection and that ability to just shake things off and come back into alignment. And that's what's caused a planet full of suffering, is that we carry around our anger, our shame, our judgment, and then we don't know what to do with it because it sucks and it feels terrible to us. And so what we want to do is just go throw it on somebody because I feel terrible, so now you should feel terrible. And it really is not serving us, and it's not helping anything. It's just causing this perpetuation of suffering. It's just like the never-ending suffering stream. So basically, I hope that answers that question, that we can help them young.
Ron has a comment, and then he's got a question. He says, and about this, he says, so the adult pulls the child aside. Then what if the child continues to lash out, pulling away from you and not listening?
Well, and that's where sometimes, like, you do your best to help them, and if they're really having, like, an episode, a tantrum, it depends on the age of the child. Like, if they're small enough that you can kind of take them into their room and kind of get them away from everyone and have them calm down and maybe just sit with them, or just even sitting with them and giving them your eye contact and just telling them you love them, telling them how loved they are. Because what happens is, I feel the opposite is what I observe, is a lot of humans are more like, you're a bad kid, you're bad, you did this wrong. And it's just basically amplifying the feelings of self-hatred that child's already got going on. And now you're just amplifying that. And it's really because you as an adult have lost your balance, you've lost your connection, and you don't know what to do. So when you forget what to do, you forget you're connected to source, your intelligence goes, your energy just goes down, and you start to mirror back to that child the energy they're putting out. They're lashing out, so you're lashing out. And now you've got a big battle. So if you can help them to get somewhere where they can calm down and just tell them you love them, tell them how loved they are, help them connect with their breath. Like, I'll say that if my child's suffering, I'll be like, baby, take some deep breaths. Like, if there's panic there and anger, and I'll even start breathing and making the sounds of breathing, which maybe sounds silly, but really that human that's there, you're kind of coaching them into that breathing. And sometimes we need that little nudge to come back and realize, I'm not breathing right now. Like, I've pinched off my breathing. And that can be helpful if they're really still just going off. Sometimes since they're older and they're just still angry and yelling, I will just pull away. And this is where it comes back to our discussions that we've had so many times about alignment and not being connected to others in an attached way, to the point of bringing suffering to ourselves. So there's that fine balance where we assist and help, but if the lashing out is coming at us violently and there's no concept of a shift being available there, they're not going to do it. They want to be angry and lash out. That's where it may be better for that person that's there as an assistant to kind of step away and give them some space, maybe encourage them to go on a walk or to just go and shake it off. But for me, vibrationally, if it's like my child and he's really hurting, or my daughter's really hurting, and I stay in there too long, I will feel it like a psychic attack if I'm not really careful and kind of push it back. And I feel that energy. I feel how much they're hurting. So I'll have to pull away. And sometimes I'll just say, I love you. I'm going to go in my room and meditate. We can talk later. Or I'll tell my family, I love you guys, but your negativity, I can't be around it right now. I'm going to go on a walk and I'll come back soon. And they'll see me, like, I'll take off on a walk and then come back and we're hugging. And usually if there's a child that's in my children, if they've done something like lashed out and I brought awareness, I step away, then I give them their space. And typically what will happen is that awareness comes in, they've processed, they've moved through their emotions and released it. And then they'll come to me and say, I'm sorry, Mom. Like, I'm so sorry. I shouldn't have yelled at you like that. And this is where every time you can ask my children, I will say, I love you. And I understand. Yeah, but I'm so grateful that you said you're sorry, because that really hurts when you do that, when you yell at me, when you lash out. I feel that energy. And I just want you to be aware of it, like how that energy feels. And, you know, just educating them. I know that you're hurting because someone hurt you. They lied to you. They lashed out at you. Well, you becoming that is not serving you. If you're hating someone and you're so angry, especially teenage age, like, I hate them, I hate this. And it's hatred, and it's powerful emotion. And they need to express and release it. But then encouraging them to come to that awareness of, you know, when you're hating and you're putting out that violent, low vibration energy, you're really hurting yourself. And that energy, you're becoming it. You're becoming what you hate, because law of attraction, you're so focused on that low vibration that it's consuming you. And next thing, you start having self-hatred because you realize, oh my God, I'm becoming just like what they're doing to me. And this is where we, as parents, if we've done our healing and we're in our alignment, we can nudge our children back to alignment, and we can help them realize that no matter what choice they made, that they can forgive themselves, and that we forgive them, and that we love them. I think these children, and not just the children, us as adults, we're all children of spirit. We all need to know that we're loved. We need to know that no matter what mistakes we've done, we are still loved, and we're still worthy, and that we can still come back to source. We are never going to do anything that will disrupt the ability for us to come back and connect with source. But if you have a belief system, and a great deal of people on the planet have a belief system that God, there's this God concept of a God who will punish you and will not forgive you, and you will not get to come to heaven. You're going to hell. If we have that belief system, it is going to cause us suffering. It is time for our planet to wake up to the self-imposed belief systems that are limiting and that are causing us suffering. And if we can shift that in ourselves, each of us individually, we will start to shift the collective consciousness. And when the collective starts to shift, we're going to see a lot of change on this planet. And these very children that have come in that we say are rebellious or ADD or ADHD or all these titles we want to put on them because they won't bow down and they won't submit and they won't honor and respect us when we're out of alignment. These are amazing souls, and they did not come here to do that. They did not come here to bow down and submit to misaligned beings. They came here to challenge you, and they will challenge you. And I know I am one of them. I will not bow down and submit, and I have been called all kinds of names for it. I've been, oh, you're so entitled. Oh, you think you're better than everyone. You think you're superior. I've heard it all, and I don't really care anymore. When I was younger, and I was a learning empath, it bothered me greatly because I wanted people to love me. I wanted them to accept me and not call me names. But as I've gotten older, and not even older in age, as I've become more aware, more awake, remembered who I am, I realized that all those opinions, all that stuff that everyone's projecting, it's about them. It's about their own woundedness. So if you listening have someone in your life that's lashing out at you all the time, it could be a parent, it could be a spouse, a coworker, it doesn't matter. It could be you. You could be the one doing it. What matters is that you stop doing it, or you move away from beings who treat you this way and realize you deserve the best. Because as long as you stay in these vibrations and these environments of abuse, it is going to be very challenging for you to heal and to come back into your alignment. And if you're an empath, it's going to kick your ass. I won't lie. I really encourage in my workshops when I talk to the students that come, I really encourage them to be so mindful of who they share sacred space with, who they call a friend and let come close, who they call a beloved, a husband, a lover, a wife. These energies, you're meshing your auric fields as one. You're bringing them together, and it would be really beneficial for you to pay attention to who you're doing that with, because if you're around beings who are constantly doubting you, constantly telling you that there's something wrong with you, constantly shaming you, calling you crazy, calling you names, even if you are an amazing spirit, like I know myself now to be very powerful and very intuitive because I've awakened to who I really am. But just 2 years ago, was living in a marriage and in a relationship where I felt like suicidal, like I didn't want to be on this planet another day because it was too painful, it was too heavy, there was so much misalignment. I couldn't respect anyone around me because they were all negative and they were all deceptive and manipulative, and just being around it was so painful. So I could have stayed there and just kept being angry and kept trying to make them be kind and trying to make them be nice and trying to make them like me. But what I learned was the quickest path is just to come and be true to self, love me, And then thanks, Source, for guiding me to the relationships and the people and the situations that will benefit me, that will actually